Welcome to my channel, The Binge Eating Therapist. I'm Sarah, former binge eater turned psychotherapist, and today I want to talk to you about self-help and binge eating recovery. This video is not to say don't work with a professional, but I know that many people are struggling to access help for binge eating through healthcare providers, insurance companies, and even privately. So sometimes we have no choice but to figure out what can we do ourselves to help. Fortunately, we live in a day and age where there are more resources out there than ever before. It's a double-edged sword sometimes because you'll hear contradictory stuff from here and there. So it's having a look what's out there and seeing what resonates. The great thing about resources that you resonate with is they bring you into the here and now. How many times have you been spiraling either with your food or your emotions, and you watched a YouTube video or you listened to a podcast or you read a book and it shifted the way that you felt? It gave you that relief, everything lifted again. So much of what we're thinking and feeling is archaic stuff. And that's one of the things that therapy does, is it works with some of the archaic stuff. Anytime you have a thought or an emotion that seems disproportionate to what's going on around you, chances are there's some old patterns being activated. So any resources out there that you like, they might not even be specific to binge eating, that bring you into the here and now, whether that's through mindfulness, journaling, just listening to conversations that open your mind up in a new and fresh way, that's going to be beneficial. The skill that is so needed to recover from binge eating or any kind of compulsive cycle is the capacity to be able to watch what we're thinking and feeling without judging them. And so we can't just stop judgments coming up, because sometimes they'll come up automatically, but it's the practice of accepting how we're feeling, accepting some of these thought loops that go on. And acceptance doesn't mean that nothing changes. It simply means that you're not going to get in a battle with your own thoughts and a battle with your own emotions. So many people compound their emotional and psychological pain by battling with their emotional and psychological pain. When we become the observers of what we're thinking and feeling, that's when we open up our free will. But we only have the free will when we reduce the judgment. And we can only reduce judgment by actively choosing to accept. And we can't force the feeling of acceptance. That's going to come or it's not going to come. But we can use our own thinking minds. We can use our own free will to say, I'm willing to accept this emotion. I'm willing to accept these thoughts. And then reach out for resources that will help you to reinforce the thinking and the emotional landscape that you are trying to develop for yourself. So that's the first thing. Really utilize resources that bring you into the here and now. And secondly, self-help does not mean doing something all by yourself. You can use others. Now we're in a day and age where connecting with like-minded people is easier than it's ever been before, because we have the internet, we have social media and other online forums and communities. I'm involved in running 2 online communities. One is the Life After Diets podcast community, and the other one is the Connect and Recover community. I'll put details for them below if you're interested in joining either of those. But even if you're not, you could go to a post on social media that someone's done about binge eating that resonates with you, and just put a comment in the post saying, these are the things I'm working on. Does anyone want to connect over a Zoom coffee? Or even if you don't want to actually talk to people, you don't have to. You can have conversations online if you're somebody who prefers to type. It's really helpful, this connection with other people, because it pulls us out of just being with our own mind and the same loops going round and round again. So I know that there's this urge to withdraw. If you're feeling shame and just self-disgust, you want to disconnect. You don't want to connect with other people because maybe you don't feel like you deserve it. So for some of you, you might find it easier to reach out and connect with others. And for some of you, it might be a real challenge. So see if there's a little edge of something that's just a bit outside your comfort zone. So maybe it's a comment, maybe you respond to somebody online. It doesn't have to be, oh, you set up a local support meeting. One of the reasons why therapy can be so effective is because you've got somebody there who's on your side, who has your best interests at heart and is there to listen to you. If you connect with another person, it's going to be a two-way street, so you will need to offer that to each other. Real moments of connection between people who get it. That really helps to reduce the shame around this. And when we are soaked in shame, we can't gain perspective. We can't make consistent, healthy changes from a place of shame. The third point I want to make, I want to introduce you to a concept called physis. This was first introduced by a chap called Eric Berne, who was one of Freud's peers. And the idea of physis is it's something that we all have within us that drives us towards self-healing. So you may have moments of complete despair where you throw your arms up and you just think, I can't do this, I give up. But if you're watching this video, you got up again at some point. It might have been physis that drove you to even watch one of my videos. It's like an energy force, a life force, a desire to be well. And I don't know about you, but I felt like I was on a mission to find a teacher in life who could teach me how to live, somebody bigger and stronger and wiser than me. I was looking for somebody who had all the answers. And I think I'd found someone and I'd put them on this pedestal and I would listen and absorb all their teachings, and then they would say something at some point that jarred with me. It didn't quite resonate, and then I would just discard everything they said and went over somewhere else. It was always looking for a teacher outside of myself. And the idea of physis, we have this inner wisdom, we have this drive that pushes us forward, keeps us breathing, wants our lives to be better and more fulfilled. So you might say, there isn't necessarily going to be a teacher out there who's going to be able to teach you how to live your life. The greatest teacher is within. And finally, I want to talk about work, because that's what recovery can feel like, right? It can feel like work. I am supposed to be doing all these things that don't come naturally to me, and it's hard. I don't like the word work. I think the word work has such unpleasant connotations, at least for me. Work doesn't sound like something I want to do. That said, there are two things that are required in order to be able to move forward in recovery when you haven't got the accountability of working in a structured program or with a professional. Actually, even then you still need these things. And that is effort and making it a priority. And by it a priority, I mean you a priority. Doing something new, not being run by the old thoughts over and over again, is going to take effort. It's not going to just happen. You're not going to just remember at the right time to implement this tool that you heard about a couple of weeks ago. So this involves making space in your life. If you were seeing a therapist every week, the space is dictated for you. You've committed your time and your money, so regardless of whether you feel like putting the effort in, you're kind of committed and you need to. That's one of the advantages of working with a professional. There's a question here is, how do you do this for yourself? And it's going to be fits and starts. There's going to be times where you just don't have it in you and you're not going to be making any effort and you're just going to go, no, not now. And then eventually that physis is going to nudge you, and it's going to keep nudging you. And at that point, maybe you hear another concept. Maybe you're reminded of an old concept, but suddenly that little spark is feeling activated in you again, and you can get up and you can try again. So you know I loves me an acronym. Well, as I said at the beginning, and I'll say again, there is hope to recover with binge eating without professional help. Get the help if you can, but if you can't, utilize those resources that bring you into the here and now. Find others to connect with. Get in touch with that physis. It's there. There's something in you that wants to help you to do this. And recognize that it will take effort and making yourself a priority. And it's okay if that fluctuates. It will. We're human. And if you beat yourself up because you think you're not trying hard enough, that's going to keep pushing you backwards as well. And I've shared before, I don't think my personal therapy helped that much with the binge eating itself. But it did help me learn to talk about what was going on in my head. And when you're talking about what's going on in your head, you're having to notice what's going on in your head. So use each other to do that. And as I said, you can join one of the communities I'm involved in that we have monthly calls if you wanna. And if you don't, that's fine too. Hope this video was helpful anyway.